How you doing, guys? I'm here to talk about Android and specifically Android runtime. So to understand this story, I have to go and explain a little bit how Android works right now. And one of the biggest problems with Android is it has to run on hundreds of different types of phones, different hardware requirements, and still work. And as the developer, it would be very complex to try, in particular, third-party app developers to program for all these different hundreds of phones. So what Android does to combat this, it actually runs on top of what's called Velvik VM, which is a virtual machine. Velvik, excuse me, I can't say that word. Which then they only have to program once in Java, and then a person would install that on their phone, and it actually run in a virtual machine. Now, it has big downsides to this, and one of the biggest, it's not a very efficient way to run an application because it runs on top of a compatibility layer, and it's not going to run nearly as fast as a natively developed app for that particular piece of hardware. And I'll give you an example, of course, with Apple's iPhone and iPad, that's natively run software, which does run very fast on their hardware. Now, so Android is coming up with and currently developing in development stages, which is called Android Runtime. Now, basically what this is when you take an application and you install it on the phone, as it's installing, it's actually compiling that source code into a native application, a natively run, designed for that hardware. So it's not going to be running in a virtual machine, which claims by Google to run twice as fast as running on Velvik VM. And of course, a big upside to this as well is it actually saves on battery life as well. Now, I've read a few articles. I think currently on the Nexus 5, I think it's Android 4.4, you can switch to a developer mode or something, and you can run this Android runtime. But for right now, it doesn't seem to be the performance gains doesn't seem to be as much as it claims for right now. Of course, that could very much change in the future. It seems, of course, it's very transparent. Everything seems to run normally. Now, one of the big downsides to this is when you install these apps, it's going to be a lot slower. Obviously, more so for the larger apps that you install versus the smaller ones. So you install it, so it could take, I don't know, as much as a minute or more per application, like I said, depending on size. But to me, that would be really in the end, to be well worth it. So pretty much same for developers. They only have to develop source code one time, and then they compile that native source code into native code that runs directly for that hardware. For right now, like I said, it's in development stages. As this continually progresses, this could potentially be very dramatic change for Android. Like I said, I never liked Android's method of running on top of this virtual machine compatibility layer. Like I said, that's a very inefficient way of doing this. So I think this is great news for the Android community.